dear friends, let us enjoy my story entitled My Brother's Peculiar Chicken. One day morning, my brother Kiko had a very peculiar chicken. It was very peculiar because no one could tell whether it was a rooster or a hen. My brother claimed it was a rooster. I claimed it was a hen. We almost got lynched trying to settle the argument. My brother pointing excitedly at the chicken. "Let's go and catch it." "No, you stay here. I'll go and catch it," Kiko said. My brother slowly approached the battling chickens. "Aha! It is a hen," I said. "What is the matter with you?" my brother asked. "Is the heat making you sick?" "No, look at its head. It has no comb or wattles." "No comb or wattles? Who cares about its comb or wattles?" Kiko and I could not agree on what determines the sex of a chicken. So, the argument went on in the field and the whole morning. "That's enough," Mother interrupted. "How many times must Father tell you boys not to argue during lunch?" We told Mother and she went out to look at the chicken. "The chicken," she said, "is a binabae. It is a rooster that looks like a hen." But Father also went to see the chicken and he said, "No, Mother, you are wrong. The chicken is a binalake, a hen which looks like a rooster." "Then what makes you say that rooster is a hen?" "Listen, I have handled fighting roosters since I was a boy, and you cannot tell me the thing is a rooster." After which, we left the house without finishing our lunch. "I know who can settle this question," my brother said. "Teniente Tasho." Teniente Tasho was the head of the village, for the chief was the warrior philosopher. "Teniente Tasho, is this chicken a male or a female? Because my brother and I happen to have a special interest in this particular chicken. Please give us an answer. Just say yes or no. Is this a rooster?" Kiko said. "It does not look like any rooster that I have ever seen," said the teniente. My brother and I were dumbfounded for a long while. We remained speechless. "Let's go down and see Mr. Cruz, he would know." Mr. Eduardo Cruz started poultry husbandry at Los Baños. As soon as Mr. Cruz was up, we caught the chicken and took it to his office. "Is this a hen or a rooster?" Kiko said. Look at the rooster on its back. If the ends are round, it is a she. If they are pointed, then it is a he." The three of us examined its feathers closely, and it had both. Very peculiar," said Mr. Cruz. Immediately, we walked back to the barrio. Kiko was silent most of the way. Then suddenly, he snapped his fingers and said, "I know how I can prove to you that this is a rooster. Would you agree that this is a rooster if it fights in the cockpit and it wins?" "All right," he said. So that Sunday, we took the chicken to the cockpit. Kiko looked around for a suitable opponent and finally decided on a red rooster. The red rooster eyed the chicken arrogantly and jiggled its sickle feathers. This scared me. Then the fight began. Both birds were released at the center of the arena. I expected a rooster to die of fright. Instead, a strange thing happened. A lovesick expression came into the red rooster's eyes. Then it did a love dance, for it was evident that the Texan was thoroughly infatuated with our chicken, and that any attention it had for the moment was strictly amatory. The fight was over. The sentencers raised our chicken in token of victory. Then a riot broke out. People tore the bamboo benches apart and used them as clubs. My brother and I had to leave through the back way. I had chicken under my arm. We ran towards the coconut groves and we kept running. As soon as we felt safe, we sat on the ground and rested. But the chicken had other ideas. It began to quiver. Then something round and warm dropped onto my hand. The chicken cackled with laughter. I looked down and saw an egg. So what do you think the chicken really is? Is it a rooster or a hen? Thank you for listening.
Hi kids! Do you want to know the story about why there are spiders in the world? Let me tell you the story about Arachne the Weaver. Arachne was a beautiful young woman and the most wonderful weaver. People traveled great distances to see her work at her loom. Her skilled fingers wove detailed multicolored tapestries and rugs. Her skill was truly a work of art, and people paid large amounts of money for her creations. Eventually, all of the attention went to her head. Arachne started to brag and become boastful of her talents. Athena, the great goddess, has given you an amazing gift, Arachne, the villagers would often say. This comment made Arachne angry. Athena did no such thing. I taught myself to weave. No one can weave as well as I, not even Athena, who invented weaving. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, watched the boastful Arachne from her throne high on Mount Olympus. One day, she decided that she'd had enough of Arachne. Athena disguised herself as an old woman and went to visit Arachne. I hear that Athena has given you a great gift, the skill of weaving, said the old woman. I am the best weaver, but Athena has nothing to do with how good I am. Her skill is no match for mine, stated Arachne. You are a talented weaver, Arachne, but you are a foolish girl. You should ask Athena for forgiveness, the old lady said, becoming angry. What? Ask for forgiveness? You are the foolish one. I am telling the truth, and if Athena is offended by my claims, she is more than welcome to pay me a visit. I would be more than willing to show her what real weaving looks like. I know that she could learn a thing or two from me, Arachne said confidently. With that, the old woman, filled with rage, and in the blink of an eye, transformed back into the magnificent goddess Athena. All of the village people gathered around the powerful goddess and fell to their knees to honor her. All of the people except Arachne, for she seemed unimpressed by Athena's presence. You think you're better than I, Arachne? Well, let the competition begin. Droves gathered to watch the weaving contest. Arachne and Athena both began to weave. Their fingers moved fluidly across the colorful threads. Athena wove glorious pictures of the gods and goddesses performing kind and heroic deeds. They were the most beautiful images the mere mortals had ever seen. Meanwhile, Arachne's weavings were also gorgeous and perfectly constructed. Her cloths were also images of the gods, but they portrayed them as angry and foolish. Athena was enraged when she saw how Arachne had depicted the gods. She was even more infuriated when she realized that her own skill was only marginally better than Arachne's. You are too boastful and rude, Arachne. How dare you make fun of the gods? Athena, beside herself, ripped Arachne's weavings to shreds. Then, she grabbed a stick and hit the girl repeatedly with it. At that moment, Arachne ran from Athena. Oh no, you won't run from me, Athena shouted. I will make sure that you, your children, and your children's children will suffer. She magically altered Arachne. Arachne began to shrink until her body was a small black bead. She sprouted 8 legs and grew black hair. Arachne became the world's first spider. She scurried to the highest place she could find and began weaving a web. Now, you will be able to weave all day long, Athena said proudly. But from now on, no one will care about your talents. In fact, Your delicate woven webs will be destroyed when people see them. So how do you find this story? The moral lesson of the story is to stay humble and never think that we are better than others.
Everyone, today I will tell you the story of Beowulf. King Hrothgar, the ruler of the Danes, is troubled by the rampages of a demon named Grendel. Every night, Grendel attacks King Hrothgar's wealthy Needhall Heorot, killing Danish warriors and sometimes even eating them. Hrothgar was a great warrior in his time, but now he's an old king and can't seem to protect his people. Fortunately, a young Geat warrior named Beowulf travels to Heorot Hall from his own lands overseas to lend a helping hand. After explaining that he owes Hrothgar a favor because Hrothgar helped out his father, Beowulf said this to the king. "I will help you defeat Grendel, O great king! I will do it with all my might!" King Hrothgar then gratefully replied, "Thank you, young warrior, for your bravery." The next time Grendel attacks Heorot Hall, Beowulf is waiting for him. Choosing to fight Grendel in a hand-to-hand combat, Beowulf wrestles the demon into submission and eventually tears off his arm at the shoulder. Mortally wounded, Grendel flees into the wilderness and dies. Beowulf, Hrothgar, and their followers throw a party to celebrate. Hrothgar also gives Beowulf many presents and treasures to reward him for his heroic defeat of the demon. Unfortunately, Grendel has an overprotective mother who decides to avenge her son. While all the warriors are sleeping off the party, she attacks Heorot Hall. But when the warriors wake up, she panics and flees back to her lair, a cave underneath a nearby lake. Beowulf and the others tracked her there. Beowulf dives into the cave and finds her, and she takes on Grendel's mothers on another one-on-one battle. Seizing a nearby sword from Grendel's mother's stash of treasure, he slays her, even though her poisonous demon blood melts the blade. When Beowulf returned to the surface, carrying the sword hilt and Grendel's mother's severed head, everyone was glad, and there's even more to celebrate. Finally, the Geats take their leave. Beowulf says goodbye to King Hrothgar. "I must leave now, great King Hrothgar," and sails back to Geatland, where he is a lord in the court of King Hygelac. Eventually, Hygelac and all his relatives are killed in different blood feuds, and Beowulf becomes the king of the Geats. Beowulf reigns as king for 50 long years, protecting the Geats from all the other tribes around them. He is an honorable and heroic warrior king. But one day, Beowulf finally meets his match. A dragon, woken by a thief, begins attacking the Geats, burning villages and slaughtering people. Beowulf takes a group of 11 trusty warriors, plus a thief, to the barrow for a final showdown with the monster. When they see the dragon, all but one of the warriors flee in terror. Only Wiglaf remains at Beowulf's side. "I believe and know that we can kill this dragon together, my king." With Wiglaf's help and encouragement, Beowulf is able to defeat the dragon. But he is mortally wounded in the process. After Beowulf's death, The Geats built an enormous funeral pyre for him, heaped with treasures. And once the pyre has burned out, they spent 10 days building an enormous barrel as a monument to their lost king, Beowulf. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for listening.